I will ask you a question which every Asian parent is probably dying to know. You don't have a 9 to 5 job, you're a bit of a digital nomad, you have
Yeah.
plenty of side projects, main projects, many gigs. You spend a lot of time doodling.
Yeah.
Is that even a sustainable career?
At that age where I have the privilege and that confidence to say, you know what, I'm an artist. But I wouldn't say I'm an artist like a long time ago. I don't know if my parents, they never said anything about me being an artist, but I think there was always the pressure of, hey, you have to be successful. It all feels the same to me.
Yep.
Making music, writing, or even just coding and making a website. It's just like an expression of my creativity, and just wanting to do stuff and that hunger that I have to create. So I was in that corner, Color Diseño, that place that caught my attention.
Cool.
You know what? Job application, I went to that place.
Right.
I made that decision. That was like the point in my life where I said, like, you know what? Yep, stop doing the odd jobs. I understood, oh, this is how the world works. You go do something that you hate. And I mean, a job, maybe, whatever, but then they give you capital so then you can do the stuff that you actually want to do in your life.
True.
So that's like, at an early age, I understood that. Oh, that's how the world works. This is capitalism. Okay, this is, they give you money, and then with the money, you actually go and enjoy your life once you're not at work. As I said, I go work for free. He was just like, like, work for free, you said. Like, I never looked back, and I have tried to always let that curiosity, like, show me the way. Famous imposter syndrome, around those days, that's when they gave it a name, or at least it became more mainstream to give it a name, that feeling.
Yeah.
AltCwithJD is a podcast on alternative careers, sponsored by IIAD, the Indian Institute of Art and Design.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of AltC with JD. That's me, Jay Datta. I'm your host. In today's episode, we have someone who has literally drawn his way into design. If you are old school, you might say, what's the big deal about that? Because every design school anyway has a drawing test to test future potential. Well, DesignUp's own research says that 50% of designers, especially UX designers today, are engineers, or they might not be great at drawing, actually. So that's a different, refreshing take for someone to draw their way into design. What's also interesting about our guest today is that he is known for trying a bunch of different things. He's been into skateboarding, he's been a mural artist, a UX designer in a corporate setup. He has been very famously known for his comic strips, and now he is a design entrepreneur trying to tame AI, make friends with AI, turn AI into his able assistant. We'll see how that goes. Please join me in welcoming Pablo Stanley, who's flown in all the way from sunny Mexico to the DesignUp 2024 conference as a keynote speaker. Welcome, Pablo. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Namaskara. Namaskara.
You got it, yeah. Excellent.
I just learned that. I also learned a couple of bad words. We're not going to say those today.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but just like being on the streets here in Bangalore, like I asked a couple of people, and they told me a lot of like some words, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Later I'll use them. But yeah, man, like, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is cool.
Fantastic having you here with us in person after seeing you online for so many years.
I know, man. Yeah, it's like coming all the way here. It's a dream come true, and we have been doing stuff like even during COVID and all that stuff, just like doing like Zoom calls, Zoom conferences, and all that stuff. And it's nice to be in person. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, Pablo, you are a vegan, you don't drink, you don't smoke, and you are cool. What's the secret?
Oh, I don't know, man. Like, I live in an era. I'm cool. I'm lucky enough to be in an era that now being a nerd is kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, I wouldn't consider myself cool, by the way. Like, but thank you. That's really nice of you. That's really kind of you. I'm actually boring. I don't do a lot of stuff. I just work. So, which is not very healthy, even.
I was asked to use the word hip instead of cool.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think
Okay,
yeah,
hip, I'll take it. Yeah,
that's
I'm
great.
pretty hip. Yeah, yeah. I dress all in black. Just like hey, just keep it cool. Yeah, yeah, all good.
Fantastic. So in a world where we are always trying to put people in boxes like a product designer or product manager or researcher, etc., your journey has been a little hard one to classify. How do you define what are you?
Yeah, even to myself, like whenever uh, you want to fill your LinkedIn profile, and it's like there's one field to say like define yourself as like okay, can we add multiple fields like what if you have a lot of text inputs?
Yeah.
Why don't you allow me to put a lot of stuff? I think I I I'm at that age. As you can see, I'm old. I'm getting to that age where I'm like thinking about these things, and I think now I am at that age where I have the privilege and the confidence to say, you know what, I'm an artist, uh, but I wouldn't say I'm an artist like a long time ago, and this is there's a bias towards like a being an artist is almost like synonymous to being broke uh, and not being taken seriously,
Yeah.
and like which is very sad.
Right.
It's a very sad state of affairs because I think artists are the people who bring so much of what we enjoy in life. They bring up the culture, they talk about what is happening, and they present it in a way that like makes us feel that thing that is happening around us. They express those things that sometimes we have a hard time understanding, and they put it on a wall, they put it in a song, they put it on a in writing in a poem, and they put it in dancing, and then you feel that thing that you knew. Maybe you watched the news. Maybe you knew that this was happening, but you didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
And then it's usually artists who come in and make sense of that and makes us realize what is happening. And it's and artists just like also I don't know like make life on earth suddenly joyful and worth it.
Yeah.
And and it's sad that artists also are the like we got into this I don't know like if it is capitalism or this economical situation where like art is undervalued
Right.
and being having artistic abilities is more of a nice to have. And it's nice that you can draw. That's cute,
Yeah.
but it's not like something that is taken seriously. So I think I learned at a young age, and also by pressure from I don't know if my parents, they never said anything about me being an artist, but I could I think there was always a pressure of hey, you have to be successful, you
Right.
have to do something that is worth all the investment that we as parents made in you, and you don't and you want your parents to be proud of you.
Yep.
And I think they would have not been they I mean, my parents are really nice. If you're watching, love you. But I think they would have been a little bit worried, at least, if I had
Yeah.
told them, you know what, I'm going to be an artist. And
Yeah.
and I don't blame them because they would worry about me because they know how the world works, and
Yeah.
they know that out there being an artist is not would not be considered by others as a serious career move, you
Yep.
know. But they were very supportive with me being a designer, and
Mm.
designers had a certain kind of cachet, like some certain kind of je ne sais quoi. There's like, oh, this feels like something that maybe you can work in, like, I don't know, like in Hollywood, or like, I don't know, like doing cool stuff with like big brands or something. So they kind of understood that, and at least I just sold them on that idea, and I understood if I wanted to be taken seriously, and if I want to make it in life, maybe I should not say that I'm an artist. I should say I should go in this parallel direction that
Yep.
feels like art, and I will get to do a lot of the art stuff that I like.
Yep.
But it was like my my Troy horse, and to get into art without really doing art, and without calling myself a artist. So, but I'm at that age where, and I have that confidence that say, you know what? Yeah, I get to do all that stuff because it's just it all feels the same to me.
Yep.
Making music, writing, uh, or even just coding and making a website is just like an expression of my creativity, and just wanting to do stuff, and that hunger that I have to create,
Yep.
and the mediums, like we usually, like you were saying, we box those things into careers. Or you're the one who codes, you're the
Yep.
one who writes, and since you have an affinity for writing and words, well, there's a career for you as a UX writer, you know so uh, but then suddenly you are boxing that, and I think as an artist, you usually want to you start seeing the connections between all those things, and they're all related. And so, yeah, anyway, long story short, yeah, I'm an artist, and I have SOS. You know what SOS is?
Yep.
Well,
Save our souls thing or
wait,
no?
what?
Save our souls.
Save our souls? Oh, I
But
like that. Like, is that like the SOS message? Is that what
that
it
that's
means?
what it means. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wow. No, this is for people who get distracted really easily. It's
Right.
the shiny object syndrome.
Ah.
Is we see a shiny object and we're
Yeah.
like, ooh,
Ooh. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then ooh,
Yeah.
and we're just like jumping
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
with things that are shiny.
Right.
I have the shiny object syndrome, SOS, but also
Oh.
save my soul, uh, where like I go around trying different things, and that's why you will see me suddenly like, what are you doing now, Pablo? Like, what is this? Like like I was doing NFTs, like
Yeah.
like a lot of.
Yeah.
I was not the only one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got the shiny object syndrome to the NFTs, and I was doing that for a while.
Yeah.
So not also the best decisions in my life, but yeah,
That's how you learn, I guess, kind of
yeah,
by making a
exactly.
lot of wrong decisions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, in all the things that I done, you try to learn something from that. I know it sounds cliche, where it's like, oh, you make mistakes and you learn from them. But I don't know if about learning mistakes, but like learning from mistakes, but more about like from the things that you do, you start seeing that things are connected,
Yeah.
our, like right now we talk a lot of behavioral economics in design,
Yeah.
but I remember I oh, even before it was cool, I was seeing it. But like I was getting a lot into economics and
Yeah.
behavioral economics and anthropology, all these things, because I could see like it was all about like human behavior and how we make decisions and how
Yeah.
and if you are in design, you start seeing those connections, right? Oh, this
Right.
this is very related to what we're doing. So when you start like dipping your toes in a lot of things, you start seeing that all things are connected.
Yeah.
You start seeing that like the bigger picture, that you start seeing the forest and not just the trees.
Perfect. And we touched upon your decision to become a designer. Tell us more about this little boy from Mexicali on the Mexico America border. and then growing up and all the way to here, kind of in faraway India. What's been the sort of journeys?
Oh
The
man, you want to go there? It's going to be a long story.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I uh, I remember. I mean, this was like a moment in my life, and maybe I'm over romanticized. Like I you romanticize things from our past, right? And we
Yeah,
remember them, and we fabric those memories in our
yeah.
heads, right? But I do well have fabricated this memory in my head, and I remember it that way, where uh, I had a job application.
Right.
And I was for years I had been working like all the odd jobs, like a as a pizza maker, pizza delivery, and then I will be in the motorcycle delivering pizzas. I will be by the oven, like making the pizzas in Mexicali, which is hot as hell, and already in there in a small box, like
Yeah,
making pizzas like
yeah,
this. Then there was no space. You
yeah.
have to do it like this. Just like deliver them quickly. Anyway, pizzas, like in a video store, like all of the odd jobs, like a butcher. I became
Okay.
a vegetarian because like I used to work as a butcher like when I was
Oh,
15 years old.
wow, right.
And I mean the butcher like in the cold room,
Yeah,
like like there will be the cows there and it's like I know that you don't need cows there here
yeah.
over there they do and the cuts and everything and putting them in packages and I I got really, I don't know, I guess anyway, like I
Mhm.
got that experience and cashier, all the odd jobs. And I had my job application and this was like ever since I was like 13, 14 years old, I started working. Uh, and I had my job application where I was going to go. I was in the corner of a street, and on the left side, there was this other odd job. This
Okay,
was at a liquor store, but it was the cool liquor store. So it
okay.
was like the from the odd jobs, it was the cool of the odd jobs,
Coolest of the odd jobs,
the
yeah.
coolest of the odd jobs, and it was a liquor store that back then, not a lot of liquor stores would sell. Like American beers. I know this sounds weird, but it would be cool because it was the only one in all of Mexicali that sold Bud Light.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
a commercial for Bud Light, I guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get some money there. And like all of the other places will sell like national beer,
Yeah,
but then with like back in those days, I'm talking the 90s, like there was the whole commerce between the United States and Mexico. So now only some places were starting to do that. So this was the cool place that had the cool beers,
yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
mean Bud Light is not cool at all, but for us it was like wow,
Exactly, yeah.
the American dream, you can have it in that liquor store.
Yeah.
And so I was going to apply, and I had been rejected several times from that place. But I had because I was not 18, and I had just
Ah,
turned 18.
right.
So I had my job application, and I had been trying to get in there. So I was like very excited because I was finally going to be going to the cool place. And I had this. I had just turned 18, and then on the other side, like seriously, in the same boulevard, on the other side, there was this place that had been catching my attention for a while, and it said "color y diseño," which means like you can color and design. And it
Ah,
had
right. Mhm.
a big sign that would say that, and it always like I would walk by it, and it always just catch my imagination would go, "What is that? What is going on in there?"
Yeah,
And it will be all red and white,
yeah.
and with black letters. So it was like had this like, I mean, black, red, and white
Right,
is like the
exactly.
right combination of like
Yeah,
you don't know what colors to use,
yeah.
and you want to look cool. Just use
Use
those three
that kind
colors,
of
and you're gonna do fine.
Yeah.
So it had that color combination and that name, and it was so odd back in those days, just like seeing like diseño, design, like as a thing that they will advertise. For me, as a young, like a teenager, I would had always been working with computers and like messing with graphic design tools and video tools in those days, like what those days were,
Yeah,
and 3D
absolutely.
tools. Like
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the tools were, but back in those days, like those things that, and usually I would do demos. I would you have to insert like a
Yeah.
CD
CD and all. Yeah.
or a floppy disk. No, floppy disk not so much because like those
Those
would be
days, yeah.
they have to be a CD,
CD.
you know. And so that's what I knew, but I never actually worked on that. I had that inkling to do all of that stuff. So I was in that corner, Color Diseño, that place that caught my attention. It's
Cool.
like, you know what? Job application, I went to that place.
Right.
I made that decision. That was like the point in my life where I said, like, you know what? Yep, stop doing the odd jobs. And the odd jobs were, and here's the thing: why would you do odd jobs even when I was in like in secondary school and like as a kid I would start, and it was because I used to do murals. You were talking
Yeah.
about graffiti.
Yeah.
And making a mural, like a graffiti, like a long wall,
Yeah.
like it costs money, all the paints and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like actually like working, that was my purpose. Like
Yeah.
getting like I understood, oh, this is how the world works. You go do something that you hate, and I mean, a job, maybe, whatever, but then they give you capital, so then you can do the stuff that you actually want to do
Yeah.
in your life.
True.
So that's like, at an early age, I understood that. Oh, that's how the world works. This is
Yeah.
capitalism. Okay, this is they give you money, and then with the money, you actually go and enjoy your life once you're not at work. So that's why I was doing odd jobs, because I wanted to keep doing murals, and as a skateboarder I would do ramps, and I would do a lot of like we had our own little skate park that we
Yeah.
built out of nowhere, but we would just like buy anyway. Like
Yeah.
that's where my money will go, like towards those creative endeavors.
Yeah.
But I will always see work as that thing that I had to do so I could do that.
Right.
Well, I went there and went to Color Diseño. I entered, and I can still remember like that. Wow. And I mean, it was just like an odd office, you know, it's just like an office. There was just like someone in the reception. But for me, I was entering Disneyland, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. And there were signs there, and it was all red, and the reception desk was all nice, like curved. So for me, it was like I'm entering like in a intergalactic planetary space, you know, like a space station. So I was like curious,
Yep.
what do you do here? I enter as like, hola, so what's up?
Yeah.
What do you do here?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean? No, what is it that you do? What is this color y diseño?
Yeah.
So they like, oh well, she like the receptionist, she was really nice. It was like, oh, and she started explaining me like, oh, we do signs, and it was like one of those places that used to do signs for like businesses,
This is exactly, yeah.
you know, like a
Shops and businesses and yeah.
all that stuff with vinyl cut stuff. But it had that cachet, you know, just like I look cool, like inside. It had the sofa and the plant, and back in those days, even that was super cool, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, and I want to work here.
Yeah.
And that's all I said. Like, I want to work here. I don't know what I can do, but I want to work here. I work for free, I said.
Yeah.
It's like, and then the guy the owner was on the second floor, was like a kind of like a loft and had a window there.
Yeah.
And I suppose like it's almost like a cliche owner who's just thinking about money, I guess.
Yeah.
Like he said, as soon as I said I go work for free, he was just like like work for free, you said. Like,
I can remember that. Yeah.
like almost like I was lucky that he saw something. Like he thought that I was interested, and I was just like, I wanted to do something. So that was my beginning, and it was because I made that decision from going, hey, should I continue on this cool but odd job,
Yeah.
or go in that direction where like something is calling me, like there's a curiosity telling me to go there.
Right.
And yeah, I suppose like after that, I never looked back, and I have tried to always let that curiosity like show me the way, and that gut feeling show me the way into like, hey, maybe try that. Like that looks cool. Why not look into it?
Yeah.
And give yourself uh, into it, like all in, go all in, and see what happens. And I think again, that is, but it's also, you can also say like, oh yeah, you just have to be there and be yourself and be committed and all that stuff. I also, it's luck. Like I was
Yeah.
lucky that the person was there, that the person who just like came down running and showed me, he was, I don't know what he saw and what in me, and he was okay with just like opening the doors and tell me, yeah, give me a position, like this kid who was just like, I was on my skateboard too,
Yeah.
like I looked all, I'm pretty sure I didn't look well, and he still like gave me a chance, and and
Yeah.
and I'm really thankful for that people who has been on the way, like I don't know, willing to open the doors and give me a chance. And yeah, I was lucky. But then after that, yeah, it has always been, after that I've been just obsessed with design.
Okay, and then Pablo came your famous comic strip, which had not been famous then, of course.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration then? How did it all start, and where did it take you?
Yeah, well, it was a little bit based on reality. It's I moved uh, to San Francisco. I was given the opportunity to work as a UX designer at a startup at Udemy, uh, and I met amazing people there, and we formed a design team, and like like this was back in 2012, so I think it was like, I mean, it was for me at least, but I do see it that others mention it was like this golden age, like of startups. There was a
Yeah.
lot of investment. There was a lot of optimism about uh, even just like the SaaS model was like, there was a lot of optimism about that and that idea of exponential growth and all that. And I was in the middle of that. I was lucky to be given a chance. Even I did not have any experience as a UX designer.
Right.
I was I had been a designer for a long time, as a graphic designer. Uh, I had made a lot of Flash sites and a lot of WordPress stuff and a
Yeah.
lot of websites and odd jobs too, like in design too, like all of us. But I didn't know anything about UX design. But when I Googled it, and they explained to me, and I Googled, I was like, oh, this is easy. This is just boxes. This is
Yeah.
just buttons and text. And it's like, I've been doing this like in WordPress. I've been
Yeah.
actually coding these things.
Right.
So this is gonna be nothing. Uh, and compared to making a poster for a band, all hand drawn, and the craft that it involves creating something like that,
Yeah.
that I was doing for a while, this looked like, oh, you just put a box, you put that era, 2012, like, and we're creating our design team, and I was in the product team, we're in growth. Anyway, going through all of that experience, like I saw it in. Uh, I was very inspired. I saw it like it was ripe for comedy. It was ripe for telling those stories,
Yeah.
and it it was. I mean, it it was odd.
Right.
Like it was odd in very beautiful ways. There was just like some of the smartest people I ever met, and they were all together in a place in one city, and and we're all kind of working in the same thing, in this same goal, different companies, but we all kind of talk the same language.
Yeah.
So that, and also that idea of sometimes thinking about design in this almost like philosophical way too. And for me, it was, I don't know, I was kind of maybe a little bit cynical. I was like, oh, come on, just make it work. Just put a button. That's it,
Yeah.
you know. But we'll go deep into these design thinking about stuff that sometimes I just found it funny, you know.
Yeah.
That we'll be taking it way too seriously sometimes for my taste. And also that thinking of that obsession with numbers and that obsession with revenue and hitting your KPIs and your ROIs and your WTFs and all of that. Like, I don't know, I love it. I
Right.
love that, and I love that being part of that. But also, as I still consider myself as an outsider, you know, and I was still someone from Mexico, from a little town, and just seeing all of this felt also, oh, this is cool, but it's also weird. It is kind of, I want to tell stories of what is happening, and actually, like, yeah, I built a little comic series telling some of the things that will actually happen. Like
Yeah.
some of the conversations that will just like spend hours talking about just a button, you know, just like the wish list button, how the wish list button should be. Should it have a heart? Should it have a hover? Should it appear on hover? Should it always be there? Should it be with, should it say wish list or should it be favorite? Should it be like all of those
Yeah.
things about just this button that is like, in and it was cool that we're having this conversation, you know?
Yeah.
It was because it was like a thing that, I mean, millions of people were using, you know?
Yeah.
And
True.
and it's not a, it was not a trivial thing.
Exactly.
So, but also it felt like that too. If you
Yeah.
suddenly like, if you put yourself in an outsider's shoes, you suddenly enter a room where you're talking about that,
Yeah.
it will all feel very weird and feel
Yeah.
very like, guys, what are you doing with your lives? So I don't know, all of that stuff. It felt right for comedy, so I just started writing about those things, and also like as being someone new in San Francisco and being like also like feeling as an immigrant, like someone from Mexico, uh, like I would feel like insecurities. I would uh, deal with self doubt that we all
Yeah.
dealt with, you know.
Sure. Mhm.
And I will feel that the famous imposter syndrome. I mean, like around those days, that's when they gave it a name, or at least it became more mainstream to give it a name. That feeling,
Yeah.
uh, and and it was cool to also acknowledge that I I was coming from San Diego, like I had been for a long time.
Yeah.
Musician, designer, doing design for musicians and for other people and for restaurants and bars. So I thought I was a hot shot, you know. It's like, oh, I'm a cool designer, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
And then getting there and then realizing like, ooh, hold on, these people are really smart.
Yeah.
They are amazing. And this UX design stuff is actually not just boxes and
Yeah.
arrows. This is actually way more complicated than I thought. And so suddenly, like I also wanted to express those feelings
Yeah.
too. And back in those days, like uh, design, UX design, it was becoming more mainstream, but it was still like very early, you know. And
Yeah.
I mean, you could say, oh, UX design, it's all the way from the '80s and stuff. Yeah, but it wasn't taken as seriously, and there were no, I don't think, as many startups or companies were having a design teams
Yeah.
until the 2000s or 2010s, and so so it was kind of new, you know. So like even trying to learn about it,
Yeah.
the resources out there were kind of limited too, and so I don't know. Like I said like, hey, let me talk about this, and I put together some, and I love doodling, so it was just the combination of those two things, like telling stories of designers with self doubt, and in the tech space, and in Silicon Valley. Like I just started writing stories about that.
So the boxes really push the right buttons for you to start the content.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in school, like again, I just put them out there as a uh, more as an exercise for me,
Yeah,
and actually, like it connected with some people
yeah,
that were feeling something similar too. So it
true.
was nice.
Yeah, I think this is also, you're so right. I think though the human computer interaction, human centered design has been around for a very long time, I think the dot com boom probably was the first to put suddenly the whole idea about interaction design into the spotlight. UX as a term has been around, but no one really used it till
Yeah,
about the 2010s.
yeah,
Yeah, and suddenly I think once you're so right about that. Once you realize that millions of people are using this service and actually they're getting something at the end of it,
yeah,
people take it really seriously.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Sometimes too seriously. That's the other problem. Yeah.
yeah, and more when that button could mean money.
You just mentioned creative insecurities and insecurities that creative people have. Of course, they are suddenly creative people in a big, wide business and tech world.
Yeah.
You've spoken a lot about it, about faking it, about imposter syndrome, about a lot of it. How did you deal with it, or any tips on how to deal with it?
Yeah, well, I realized that talking about it, it works. It's I mean, I come from Mexico, a very Catholic family and Catholic roots where you don't talk about your problems.
Correct.
You don't. No, you're supposed to have problems. You're supposed to suffer here on earth,
Yeah.
and you and you just bottle them down. And more as from Mexico, where it's like there's this, at least when I grew up, that has been improving, but there's this macho thing where it's like a also talking about your problems is kind of a thing you don't do, like
Yeah.
that's again, you don't want to show weakness,
Right.
and you don't want to show that that you suffer, you know. So and you want to have keep that appearance of strength. So because showing a little bit of weakness and vulnerability, there's shame behind that, and people would shame you. Oh, uh, uh, you're a sissy and whatever. Like if you cannot take something, So like I come from that, and then suddenly having those feelings, well, you internalize them and you don't talk them and you don't tell them, and that's like only until like later in life. I know now it's very obvious, but hey, express those things.
Yeah.
Let them out. And I know, Pablo, yeah, like you're not saying anything new. Well, it was new for me. I
Yeah.
didn't know about this. I didn't know that you could talk about your stuff, you know? And so suddenly, like, oh, like I would express them in my comics. I would
Yeah.
express them in my writing, and and suddenly, like, hey, I would also express them to friends and to people, and then you realize, like, oh, you're not the only one. Others
Yeah.
feel like that too, and others also feel the the pressure or the shame of sharing that
Yeah.
side too, because like in the professional setting, you want to appear like you know everything too.
True. Yeah.
You don't want to appear like you don't know what you're talking about. You like they say an acronym that you don't understand. You're sort of, oh yeah, of course. And you start googling instead of asking and say like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is that?
Yeah.
You know. So in that environment and starting as a UX designer, I didn't want people to see that I was a total noob,
Yeah.
that I was just learning, and I think what helped was talking about it, and also realizing, well, people know that you're not an expert,
Yeah.
that and that you're learning, that they understand that,
True.
and but they the thing is you're there because they trust you, and because you're going to take the steps towards learning and towards like finding a solution. It's like no one is expecting you to have the answers right away, and so and it took me a while to understand that it's like you don't have to have all the answers. You don't want to also like pass your problems to others,
Yeah, yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
maybe you also need to go to therapy. Maybe there are other
Ways of kind of,
problems
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there down there. I have also started going to therapy. That has been helping me a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's been untangling a lot of things inside that I'm realizing like, oh, okay, that's why I do this that way I do it. Okay. Um, so yeah, different things. Just be kind to yourself.
Yeah. And I think you've been doing a good job of, which is a rare thing, of course, being able to take it and being able to laugh at it,
Yeah.
which is a rare quality, because the moment you can externalize it,
Mm,
you also probably, I guess, realize that the problem is not you. There's a problem and there's you, and you can laugh at the problem and
yeah.
immediately realize that, oh, hey, I am sad, but the sadness is a state which keeps coming and going, or
Yeah.
this insecurity comes and goes.
Yeah.
This is not me permanently. So I think you've done a brilliant job of doing that.
I think in Mexico, like I don't know, all cultures have, whereas like a when you express your suffering in comedy or like laughing at yourself or
Yeah,
self-deprecation,
yeah,
like a little bit of that is coming from that also insecurity too,
true, yeah,
and you deal with that by like minimizing the problem and also saying like, hey, come on, it's kind
yeah,
of ridiculous too.
true,
So
yeah,
like I think it helps. It it helps on uh I don't know, like making it not as heavy, I guess.
absolutely, yeah. So coming to AI, the
Okay.
elephant in the room, or whatever we call it.
Yeah.
You've been working a lot with it.
Yeah.
Tell us about AI. I mean, is it our next overlord? How do you see it now that you've been working with it?
I oh man, there's a lot of things with AI, and I well, first of all, I'm a techno optimist. Is how you say it? It
Yeah.
sounds like an optimist dancing to techno in Berlin, just like very happy dancing to techno. It's a little
Yeah,
bit like that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
am. I can be that too.
That
But no, I'm very optimistic on the powers of technology. I think that this is specifically comes as something that will make a lot of changes, and I see the possibilities and opportunities on the good things it can do. I I also I and I mean on our industry on design, I tend to see the different angles that where this could go, and the different directions. Like it can be um, we're seeing like more and more people seeing, hey, this is a tool, you know,
yeah,
and I'm glad that people are seeing it. Hey, this is a tool, and it's another tool in your toolkit. I think it's more than a tool. It's not just something that serves like usually tools serve a specific purpose,
yeah,
like a hammer for the nails. I mean, sometimes you use the hammer for a lot of different things, right? But this thing, it's just like it can do anything
yeah,
suddenly, and it can understand like natural language, and so I think it goes beyond what a traditional tool is, but it's a right mindset, and I think the right mindset to see it is more of a companion, like a partner, this creative partner, this ideas partner, this partner that will help you on the different state. You can see it as a partner that can help you in the different stages of creating anything. Like if we go to, I mean, like for example, in movies, it's pre-production, the production and the post production, right? Like a production, you write stuff, you plan things, and then on the production, well, you actually do the things and you record, and the post, you all the little details, right, and the effects. Um, I mean, I'm oversimplifying this, but I think this thing can play a part in all of those roles.
Yeah.
As in the beginning, it can be something that can help unlock different ideas. It can expand on things that you were thinking already, maybe. So it can help you also like give it a specific role, as in like what they call the system prompt, or giving it like a persona, where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, you are PM, you are an engineer, or you're an expert in X,
Yep.
and then as that, they like have that kind of almost like an advisor,
Yeah.
like advisors are hired because of their expertise in certain
Sure.
topics, right? And they come, and you trust the advisors, what they have to tell you,
Yeah.
and they tell you like, hey, we saw your data, we saw what you do, and we advise on going this. Me as an expert in this area, I can tell you this. And these things are actually really good at that,
Yeah.
like playing that kind of role. You can tell them a context of like, hey, kind of like a context of what you're trying to do with your campaign or with your business, or where you want, whatever you want to do, and then give them the role of that advisor, and you see in their output as advice,
Yeah.
so it can take that part in the initial process, but it can also be like, I see people saying like, hey, as an ideas generator, as
Sure.
someone who, or not just generator but expander. Once you pick an idea, like, hey, the different directions it can go, all the pitfalls it can give you, the things that you are, I mean, we're incapable of thinking of everything, and these things like uh, have been trained of everything on all of humanity, have been trained, everything that we have written, everything that has been posted, all the books, all the magazines, I'm not saying it's right, but they have all that knowledge,
Yeah.
and it will be incredibly dumb not to get that power from them. Now, production, where I think that's where a lot of on our industry are scared.
Yeah.
Whereas like the actual design, the actual pushing of the pixels, the actual making a decision of what is um, even sometimes we tend to care a lot about the craft,
Yeah.
and we put a lot of value in the craft of what we do. But even be, before AI, we can say that the craft was being commoditized,
Right.
then more and more we have been seeing tools that make a design can be just pressing a button,
Sure.
and it creates a design that would usually take you a long time. And I think this is I don't know how to feel about that, other than this is becoming design is becoming more accessible, and there are tools that are making design more accessible, but usually those were not your clients anyway, and
Right.
those were not going to be your clients, or but they have the potential to potentially be your clients later, because now they were able to see the true benefits of design.
Right.
They were able to experience what they can do if they have an okayish design in their website, or in their emails, or in their campaigns. Why? Because they use these tools that give them okayish design.
Yeah.
And but then eventually, if they get to that point where they have the capital to pay a designer and have very custom things, they they might have needed those tools first
Sure.
anyway.
Yeah.
And they might have not had the capital to hire you in the beginning.
Right.
So it's good that these people have those tools, so they can get to that place where they can say like, hey, you know what? I need an expert on this. I need a designer who this builds that dream that I have in my head.
Right.
And so I think that these tools are kind of accelerating that. The So I can tell you that, like, from our side, like, as trying to develop like design tools with LLMs and with diffusion models, they're not great. They're okay. No, not even okay. Like, I would say that it the only what they're really good at, they're good at generating content. They're great at writing the title, the heading, the copy. Uh, but making decisions about typography, making decisions about spacing, about layout, they're still not great. And we
Right.
tried training our models. We tried, and I would say that it was, we realized, like, at least us, hey, this is difficult, at least for now. Let's and what we realized is that they work great with templates,
Yeah.
which is like, okay, this is not new.
Exactly.
Like, this is not really AI making all the design decisions. These were human made templates that then the AI would choose, and then they would put content. And you can see a lot of tools that are doing that
Yeah.
already. And I don't I don't see that as a threat. At least I see that as a people already were using templates. Now they're going to be faster at using templates. You know what? You can use templates too. Here's a conspiracy theory for you, for all or your listeners who like conspiracy theories. But I don't think design tools want to make it too easy, or it. Imagine if suddenly we keep hearing like, "Hey, we're going to be replaced. Designers are going to be replaced," and wouldn't be that the opposite of what a design tool wants? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
they want people to be paying their subscriptions,
Yeah.
and for that they need designers who are employed,
Human designers.
human designers.
Right.
The robots are not going to be
Pay.
paying their monthly service.
Yeah.
So, like, it's it like it will be against their interest to build a tool that just does design without the need of designers.
Sure.
I think it's more of I can see tools trying to use AI in ways that improve how we work with the tool. Whereas, like, things that, like, connecting the handoff, the developer handoff,
Yeah.
the AI is amazing at writing code, and being able to see a design and then doing all the translation into code, into React, into CSS, into vanilla JavaScript, all of that is amazing at doing that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I see a lot of opportunities for AI. I see a lot of opportunities for, we're already seeing tools like automating a lot of the steps that were kind of boring. A lot of things that would take us a lot of time in the production time. Usually production on, I was dividing before, like pre-production, production, and then post-production, right? And in pre-production will be all the strategy and all that stuff, all the research. And sometimes, because we know that production takes so long,
Yeah.
we'll have to, sometimes we skip the research, we
Right.
skip the strategy just to have more time on the production. And then deadline is here. We don't have time for the details, all
Yeah.
the finer animations and the finer things that delight, you
Yeah.
know? We don't have the time because we spend so much time on production. And that production is not usually the craft.
Yeah.
The production is usually the menial things and the repetitive tasks that you don't want to really do.
Yeah.
So, like, I hope that production actually shrinks down,
Yeah.
and the robots help us shrinking down that process.
So let's change tack from AI, and I think we have discussed a lot about AI and in previous episodes as well. A lot of it is already here. A lot of it may not be AI, but just pattern making tools,
Yeah,
LLM, a whole bunch of things which what we broadly call AI.
yeah.
It's let's move to this whole idea about success.
Hmm.
Society has a definition, and what's Pablo's personal definition of success?
Oh man, you're right. Like, everybody will have their own way of seeing success. I I think I consider myself lucky, privileged, and successful in that I have the ability to have time for my side projects and for my things and for reading and for, like, time. Like, being able to have control of your time will be my definition of success. Like, being able to do the things that you like during that time. and the things that you value. Um, a lot of our time goes into things that we have to do, and because we have to put food on the plate, uh, and and sometimes we just like things that we don't enjoy. And for me, I'm lucky that I'm being able to most of the time work like put my time on things that I like. And I know that's a privilege. So
Yep. So I think that definition that you had as a 16, 17, 18-year-old, that you got to do the hard things to
yeah,
take the money to do the things you love,
yeah.
that has changed.
Yeah, it's now I get paid to do the things that I really like, and like I think that's I also realized that one when I made the right turn
Yeah.
on that corner, and instead of going to the liquor store, I went to that color y diseño, uh, because I realized that, oh, you could get paid to do this stuff, and this stuff looks amazing. This is so you're dealing with colors and with letters and with graphics. That's so cool. So
Yep.
I I don't take it for granted. I'm very grateful that I'm able to work on this stuff, and that I think ever since I made that right turn to
Yep.
that that was my first step into success, and success in doing something that I like.
Fantastic, Pablo. On that note, I will ask you a question which every Asian parent is probably dying to know. You don't have a 9 to 5 job, you're a bit of a digital nomad, you have
Yeah,
plenty of side projects, main projects, many gigs, you spend a lot of time doodling.
yeah.
Is that even a sustainable career?
I can say that the digital nomad thing is something I think that after COVID, it did change the world in how we uh, see the whole idea of the 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Um, More companies now are asking their employees to go back to the office.
Yeah.
I Let's see how that goes. As in, like, let's see that there are studies that show that it doesn't really increase productivity to go back to the office, and I think it doesn't. Lines of code written are not don't go up if you're at the office. For lunch, when you're at an office, like when you go for lunch, you spend like an hour, sometimes an hour and a half going with the people at work and stuff. And when you're at home, you actually spend it less.
Yeah.
You make yourself something quickly, and then you suddenly you're eating and working. Uh, but where I'm going with this is that I think there's a shift in the things that we can do on our laptops from home or from anywhere in the world, and it's not just design, it's really different careers for I seen that accountants, people in real estate, even just like do that kind of stuff, and I'm like, hold on, you don't need to be there for the homes. And it's it's changing, and I think suddenly uh, we sometimes as when we're young, even more, we want to explore the world and learn,
Yeah.
but we don't do that because, well, we're at work. You have to work,
Yeah.
and you have to be at the office, and you have to. So when do you do that? Maybe you do it in a long weekend or something, on a very rushed vacation that you have 1 week, but even just that week feels like so heavy because you have to travel, you have to book, you have to go there to the hotel, and then you have to come back. So all of that really, like 30% of the time, were actually you were not even enjoying the time there.
Yeah.
You didn't get to learn, you didn't get to explore. So suddenly we're unlocked from that, and we're able to work and have that kind of at the same time also lifestyle where you get to learn and you get to explore. So uh, again, I'm privileged that I have that. I know that that's not a but it's becoming more common.
Sure.
And I think for the parents out there, those are real jobs. They are real jobs that allow people to do that kind of stuff, and more companies are realizing that hiring abroad unlocks them to find talent that uh, they're not limited to the local talent.
Sure.
And they sometimes also, well, they save money on now. They don't need an office, and office can get into their budget, like 15-20% of their budget might go to the office supplies, and paying the rent and all that stuff. And suddenly the companies now unlocks them to use that revenue or use that money in other things. So I see that more companies are seeing that path, and I can see that growing. I think around 20 to 25% now, which is like nothing before. I think it was only like between 1 and 5% of works were remote, and now it's around 20 or 25%. It's a lot. It's really about making their business a little bit more profitable, or even just easier to do, because like renting a space might be difficult. You have to suddenly invest a lot on that, and you have to commit to a 2-3 year lease, and it's hard if you're a company. You don't know if in a year your business is still going to be there. So I don't know. I'm saying, hey, be more open to the idea of your kid getting a job in a laptop, even if you don't understand it. Like, and you see, like, what are you doing? Are you just like on the internet playing games or something? No, they might be actually doing something really, really cool and really meaningful. And you know what? If there's Wi-Fi and you have I don't know, somewhere to power your laptop, you can work from anywhere. Yeah, and it's cool, like traveling and learning, and like we get taste. We from going and exploring the world, learning from other cultures, going to museums, but you have to go out there. Like you can read the books and all that, but it's really going out there. Then suddenly, like your mind just expands. And so I don't know. Like I think it's something that the world is changing. It feels more connected, and suddenly, like being in Madrid, or it's not just because you're a bohemian or something. It's because, like, hey, maybe you're doing work over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Pablo, one question on side projects, because you've got a bunch of side projects going.
Yeah.
Quick tip on how to sort of manage side projects, because a lot of people have ideas, but they never put it into action.
Oh man, like now with I would say this. Now with AI, you have no excuse not to do a side project and actually make it a reality. That it used to be where you can have an idea, but it's actually about the execution.
Yeah.
Now the execution of a lot of ideas, the barrier for them has lowered significantly with when you use AI to actually code for you something.
Yeah.
So those ideas, and I'm not saying doing a full app, but even just doing a prototype, even just doing like something, an idea that you want to actually click around and see and show it to others, like suddenly, like this, like AI can make that idea a reality, even if it's just a demo. So I think like how do I? The question is like how do I do all these things? Or
Yeah.
like I well I don't have a life. Have no friends. I never watch Game of Thrones.
Right.
So I haven't gotten hooked in that.
Yeah.
So I have all that extra time.
Yeah.
So if you want to be like me and you want to do all that stuff, be a nerd and don't have friends and be lonely. That's how you do it. That's the productivity hack.
Perfect.
No, it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I try to actually like uh, bring others to those projects.
Yeah.
Like if I have an idea and I have something, maybe it starts just with me, but then like, hey, how can friends help me with this thing? And then suddenly it's not just you, and then if you bring others, then also it makes it more fun.
True. Yeah.
It's like suddenly you're doing something together, and let's see if it works. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you do that part, and so I think that's also a little bit of a hack on
Yeah.
like a uh, also like a hack that I remember I heard this very long time ago, and then it stuck with me, where it's like, don't care, like make it dumb, like keep it dumb at least in the beginning. Where it's like it's okay if it's a dumb idea that is not going to go anywhere, and it's better because then there's no pressure of making it successful or
Yeah.
anything, and it's more like, oh, it's just a fun thing that I'm doing,
True. Yeah.
and then suddenly you can hit gold with that, and
Yeah.
so but don't be like, oh, I'm gonna make it dumb so I can hit gold. No, that's not how it works. Really, just enjoy. Just make it
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
fun,
True.
and because you want to learn. Like a lot of the things that I do is again the shiny object syndrome is curiosity. That
Yeah.
like I want to learn. I want to learn Webflow, so I built the website for a community of Latinx who design. But
Right.
I mean, it the Latinx redesign and building that community meant to me at something.
Yeah.
But if I'm honest, I actually wanted to learn Webflow, which is
That's yeah.
like it's not the story that I tell in the community.
Yeah.
Oh, I go to the community and I do tell that, hey, I care about this and I wanted this to become a reality. But if I'm honest with myself, I really wanted to like click around the things and create something with it.
Yeah.
So like finding that excuse as something that is potentially meaningful to you too. It doesn't have to be dumb either. But really what I wanted is that curiosity of like, hey, can I do something? And I have courses, for example, and I know that some people uh, learn from courses and learn from reading and all that theory, but you have to put it in practice,
Yeah.
and those hobbies, like those side projects, are me trying to learn something too.
Yep.
So it's I think it's you have to find whatever that switch you have inside you that like fuels you. It can be that you want to learn something. It can be that you know what you want recognition from others. And you know
Yep.
what? That's okay. That's valid. There's no shame on that. But if that's what it is, then allow yourself to be the motivating factor that pushes you to do the next thing and keep yourself doing that. If it is because you care about a specific thing, you want to do good for your community, then let that be your motivator, and,
Yep.
and let that be that switch inside you and take it seriously towards that goal. So for me is learning.
Yep.
And for me is just curiosity. Uh, and for other people it's other things, and there's no shame on also money. Like, hey, I want to make money. That's great. Make money and let that be your motivator.
Sure.
For me it's just making fun stupid stuff, but that's not what everybody wants to do,
Yeah.
and that's my motivator. That's not, it doesn't work for anyone. And if it is money, or if it is status, if it is success, whatever that is, like let that be your motivator, and,
True. Yeah.
and there's no shame on that, and just like keep using it.
Fantastic. Which brings me to the most critical question.
Yeah.
If you were to meet the 16-year-old Pablo Stanley,
Yeah.
what advice would you give him?
Yeah. uh, I would say to myself, yo, it's gonna get there's gonna be rough times, you know and just be kind to yourself. Hey, it's gonna be okay, And when you think things are, there's no point on things, nah, eh, suddenly it passes.
Yeah.
So and allow yourself to feel those things. And so say like, hey, it's gonna be okay. Be kind to yourself. And I still have to say that to myself. So it's not, I don't have to go back to 16 years old. Like 40 something years old me still tries to say that to myself sometimes.
Right. Thank you so much, Pablo. Thank you for
Thank
your
you, man.
generosity of time and for sharing stuff so openly. And yeah,
Thank
really,
you,
really
man.
appreciate that.
Thanks for doing this. I love the setup. I love this. I love. I mean, you cannot see in the cameras, but this is a whole thing, dude. This is very
Yeah.
professional. I feel like I'm a real podcast. This is like, I mean, it is a real podcast,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like usually, like I have a podcast too. For example, a lot of us have a podcast, and we just put a microphone. Just like, oh, okay, hit record. No, this is profesh, man. This is cool. So this is awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Pablo.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching. Thank you for staying till the end. And please tune in to more episodes. Real people, as Pablo said, it's a real podcast and and real stories from people who have gone on to the alternative path. Stay curious, keep watching. See you.